Today we're going to review the DeLonghi Dedica Duo EC890. And I do feel like with this machine, they've taken one step forward and they've taken one step back. But we're gonna get to that a little bit later. Now, I'm sure many of you recognize this Dedica. It is really the design that has existed for the last 10 years. It's what I think has made DeLonghi so popular in the home espresso enthusiast market. And this has been copied many times over the years by the likes of Brew, Casa Brews, Gevi. So many manufacturers copy this nice, slim design, and this is the newest one by DeLonghi. So what's different about this machine? First of all, what you're going to see is new is that you don't have any buttons here on the front panel. Instead, you got your buttons up here on top. So they're capacitive now. You don't actually feel any buttons. You don't depress anything. You just lightly tap, and that is what engages the button. I myself prefer the older type that you actually depress because I like that haptic feedback. But yeah, that is one major change, is how this looks here on the front, that panel right there. That is really kind of the main difference aesthetically. You also have a different size drip tray, slightly larger. This measures 15 centimeters across, or 6 inches, and you can see it's flat here. It's not tapered like it used to be, and so you can fit cups on there more easily. So that's nice. And really, the main big difference that this offers now is cold brew. So you're gonna see that right there, cold brew. So you can make yourself a cold brew coffee if you want. It takes about 5 minutes. Now, before we get started with this machine, I think it would make sense to talk just a little bit about the history of the Dedica. So this is really the newest one here, but let's take a look where it all started. It started with this guy right here. This is the EC680. And you can see there's really not that big of a difference. This one has got these nice buttons that you can depress, and that is something that I prefer. But really, portafilter is nearly the same, just the handle looks a little bit different. Otherwise, portafilters are the same. I think the technology inside is just about the same. Okay, here the knob is slightly different to engage the steam wand. Now you've got this different kind of like knurled plastic knob instead of a lever here, but really super similar. But this one came with a crappy Panarello. All right, so this is the EC680. It came with this Panarello, and the next iteration was the EC685. The only difference the EC685 had was a different Panarello. So this is the old one, this is the new one. And so that was really the only difference, was this Panarello on there. Big deal, right? So anyhow, what came next? The next iteration is this guy right here. This is the EC885, and you can see really these look pretty much the same. The EC885 has got this nicer steam wand on it, so it's not a Panarello anymore, and that's a non-burn steam wand. Same thing for the 890, as you can see. So really, 885, very similar to the 890, but it does not do cold brew, and it does not have the capacitive top. Instead, it's got these buttons on the side. Let's get back to the Dedica Duo. I suppose one of the other differences between the EC890 and those previous Dedicas is the fact that this does come with more stuff. So it comes with a portafilter, as they all do, of course, and it comes with 2 baskets. They're pressurized, so this is a double pressurized basket. Also comes with a single pressurized basket. What's new is that it comes with a tamper. As far as I know, the previous models did not, but may be region dependent. And also came with this milk pitcher. Pretty nice thick milk pitcher, a little on the small side, but to foreshadow, it's good that it's small because this does not have much steam pressure. So anyway, it does come with those things. It also comes with a little pokey tool so that you can poke out your steam wand if you know, every once in a while, to make sure that that's nice and cleared out. So that's what this comes with. And by the way, I bought this myself, and the going price on this is 300 euros. So it's a little on the pricier side. But let's go ahead and just get started with the demo. I'm going to make a double shot espresso here, pressurized, because that's how it comes. I found that I can fit about 14 grams of coffee powder in here comfortably. And so that's just filling it up to the top. Kind of smooth it out just a little bit. Take the included tamper. It does have a metal base, but the top part is plastic. And just give it a nice light tamp because it is pressurized anyhow. And all we gotta do is stick it in the machine. And I got about 14 grams in. I'm gonna go for about 28 or 30 out. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna press the 2 times espresso. I'm gonna stop it at 25. Oh, and you see it's going to just keep dripping there. You may be wondering if they've included a solenoid valve to cut the pressure off, and they have not. So I stopped it at 25 and it's still going, and went up to about 40 grams here. And let's see, how's the taste? I mean, the taste is decent. It's chocolatey. It's definitely better than something like a Nespresso or something that you get out of, let's say, an automated coffee machine at work or at the gas station, unless it's a fancy one. So considering the effort that you put in, just scooping some espresso in there and pressing the button, you know, I'm pretty satisfied with that. Of course, it can get much better. This does not have that much depth of flavor in comparison to, let's say, a traditional espresso. This one is a little bit more hollow. You can make a traditional espresso by using a bottomless portafilter like this one here. This is by Normcore. There's many different types. I'm gonna have some links listed in the video description down below in case you're curious to test them out. And I got an IMS basket in there. So the IMS basket has got all kinds of holes in there, and therefore you need to use fresh beans and you need to use a capable grinder if you want to do a bottomless shot or a non-pressurized shot. So we're gonna do one of those, then we're going to steam, and I'm going to show you how this thing steams. All right, so I've got myself set up here with 16.5 grams of some nice freshly roasted beans. This is a mixture of Robusta and Arabica, and I'm pretty familiar with these beans. I get some really nice results out of them generally. I'm gonna put them in the DF54. I've got it set at 17. I think that's gonna get us in the ballpark. Let's just give it a shot. So do keep in mind, if you want to do a traditional non-pressurized extraction, you're going to need a decent grinder. This one from this is a Me Coffee DF54. It costs somewhere around 229 bucks. So that's almost the same price as the machine. Keep that in mind. You also need to use fresh beans. If you use old beans, most of the time they're not going to work that well unless they have a ton of Robusta in them. But anyway, I'm going to just dump my grounds into here. It's always nice to have a funnel to work with to make less mess. And this tool right here, I'm sure you've seen it before. It's used to just kind of tickle the air pockets out of there and any clumps that may be in the grounds. It's supposed to help to get a more even extraction, and it doesn't take long. The tool's not expensive. So I think that the benefits outweigh the extra step. I'm using this flash tamper from MHW3 today. I bought this recently because it's got a real satisfying click. Excellent. So that's what that looks like. It's also got ridges in there. That's kind of fun. But anyway, let's just stick this in the machine and see what we get. Yeah, I got some spritzers. Stop it right there at 32. All right, but that looks pretty good, doesn't it? It looks really nice and creamy, of course. Quite a bit of crema there. And probably should have chosen a different machine than white, because I've always got a bit of a mess to clean up. But anyway, you can see that that shot looks different than the first one. This shot was made with the non-pressurized basket. It is velvety, it's nice and well-rounded. Of course, it's got bittersweet chocolate notes in there and some nice nougat as well. So I do like using the Bottomless Portafilter, but you don't have to. You can use this as well. If all you want to do is buy the machine and get some pre-ground coffee so you don't have to buy a grinder, you're free to do that too. Just know that if you want, you know, there is a possibility to get better espresso if you would like to get more involved in the process. The next thing that we're gonna do is look at the steaming capabilities of this machine, and this is the biggest disappointment for me. This thing is an absolute turd when it comes to steam power. So for reference, I'm putting 180 grams of milk, and we're gonna just see how poor this is at steaming. So first of all, I'm gonna press the steam button. It's gonna take the time to warm up the thermal block up to steam mode. Then what we're gonna do is purge it to get any condensation out of there. And then we're gonna try to steam. So there we go, purge. Something else that's weird is after purging, what it does next is it's gonna go and it's going to put a bunch of water through the thermal block after having just purged the steam one. Listen. But the main problem that I have is just the lack of pressure. So here we go. It's so difficult to get any kind of whirlpool going because it just lacks the pressure. So for most of the time, it's just injecting air and making it bubbly, but it's not really getting the steam going very well around. And now it's starting to. Now it's starting to work. Takes a long time though. There we go, finally. Plenty hot. At some point you can get the milk to steam all right, but it takes a lot of practice with this machine and a lot of patience. You gotta hold this just in the right spot the whole time. So, got a little bit of a stacked tulip design there, but I will say this machine has got the weakest steam power of any machine that I've tried so far. Not just the Dedicas, because the previous 885 was not great either. In fact, I made this video to show how to steam better with that one. But the EC890 takes the cake for the worst steam one power of any machine that I've used. But anyway, this is about the best you can get. Tastes pretty good. But I do have the feeling that whoever is selling these DeLonghi Dedicas is going to have to deal with a lot of returns.
And by the way, here's a comparison. I got the Dedica Dual on the left and the Las Vista Opera on the right. You can see the Opera already at 8 seconds is churning the milk. It's already a whirlpool. And if you look at the one on the left, the Dedica Dual, it's just blowing bubbles into it. It's not got any pressure yet to be able to churn the milk. It takes a good 24, 25 seconds Now it's finally starting on the left to be able to churn it. It just takes too long though.
Something else this machine can do is a cold brew, and I've already got my portafilter loaded up here for the demo. Now there is a weird peculiarity with this machine, and that is I just steamed. So the previous generations of the DeLonghi Dedicas, they would force you to cool down the boiler. The buttons would not be illuminated telling you that you can pull a shot. In fact, they would blink, right? Telling you, okay, you gotta cool down the boiler by letting some water run through. Well, this one doesn't force you to do that. So that's kind of interesting. And anyway, for the cold brew, I think all they do is turn off the heater. So what we're gonna do is just press the cold brew button. I've done these before. They take about 5 minutes or so. So I'm just gonna speed up the video. Alrighty, we're gonna call that good right there. Cheers. So, I mean, it's pretty tasty. I do find that like a cold brew does taste a bit different than other brew methods. It feels, or it tastes somehow a bit sweeter. And it's nice to have something iced. I was actually sick the last couple of weeks, and so I was drinking some of these cold brews, and yeah, it's refreshing. That being said, I don't know how it really compares to a real cold brew that you put in the fridge overnight. I'm not an expert with that by any means, but for the people who are interested in cold brew, you know, this has got that function in there. So anyway, coming to the end of the video, who do I think this machine is for? Well, first of all, I think it's for people who are sympathetic to the DeLonghi Dedica, for the heritage that it has, for the slim design, and for all the third-party accessories that you can get. And keep in mind, this does use the same accessories as the previous models, EC885, EC685, and EC680. So that's nice, same platform. But I think that if for example, latte art, cappuccinos, flat whites, if that's important to you, then this is not the machine for you. This is really going to only be for you if your main priorities are making espresso and making cold brew, and you like, you know, the Dedica design. So those are my thoughts on the Dedica. If I had to give it a grade, because of the poor steam wand pressure, I'd probably give it a C-. Those are my thoughts on the new DeLonghi Dedica Duo. Thanks for watching the video. Until next time, I say happy coffee drinking and happy espresso drinking. Bye now.